Okay, so this is our fishhook range, and it's a fun, funky range of wines that we've been making for a while. We're able to make them slightly cheaper than the Flagstone wines, which are really handcrafted masterpieces in a way compared to these. This is a lot more about lifestyle sort of wines, and the reason we came up with the concept was that well, actually it all comes down to James Bond, because James Bond revolutionized another drink called vermouth. Now vermouth is what you use to make martinis, and at one stage no one was buying any martinis, and they tried everything. They had naked women serving them in bars, and they had martinis dressed up in pink bows and bottles and everything, and no one was buying martinis. Thank you. And suddenly everyone started buying martinis in bars in London, and they couldn't work it out. So this is kind of a marketing phenomenon, and it all comes down to 30 seconds in a James Bond movie. And I can't remember which James Bond movie it was, but basically he's standing on the edge of a lake, and this spy, I think Spy Loved Me, I can't remember anyway, this gorgeous girl is skiing, and she skis past him, and she sprays him with the water, and he's all wet, and then she lifts herself up onto the deck, with her boobs first, and she says, I'm terribly sorry I wet you. And James says, don't worry, my martini's still dry. And that was a sort of a famous line. Everyone started drinking martini, and of course what it did was it took this old drink that your grandfather drank, and it gave it sex appeal. It gave it another element that's the sort of the people in the bars at the time thought was really cool. And in fact, the appeal of martinis has never gone away. It's quite an interesting drink. I mean, some people actually don't like the taste of it, but they still drink it. So what we wanted to do was add another element to wine that isn't really used that often, and that's humor, and do it in a way that is still respectful to what wine really is, which is a very sophisticated product. I mean, it is sophisticated. It's drunk with food, and it's enjoyed in a leisurely sort of manner. It's not really something that should be abused. I mean, one of the interesting things that I once remember when I was very young, meeting Hugh Johnson, the famous English wine writer, and he gave me a glass of wine, and he said, okay, tell me what you think of it. And I took a little sip, and I said, oh, that's very nice. He said, okay, now take a gulp. So I said, okay, and I took this big gulp of wine, and I could hardly swallow it. And you can't gulp wine. You can only sip wine. Because of the way that it's structured and the acid, you can only sip it. You can't gulp it. I mean, you can gulp vodka, trust me. You can gulp a beer, you can gulp almost any other drink, cider. You can't gulp wine. It's just designed the way that it functions on your palate means that it needs to be sipped and enjoyed slowly and leisurely. So it's a sophisticated product, but we wanted to have something that was also about fun, about humor. And so we came up with this concept called Fishhook. Now, Fishhook is a suburb in Cape Town. It's along the coast. It's a beautiful part of Cape Town, and it's kind of funny because it's the only suburb in South Africa which is called a dry suburb. So there are no bars in Fishhook. And we thought, well, that's one reason we should put it on a label, for have a bit of fun. But the other reason was that it's sort of a lifestyle as well. Fishhook, it's on the beach, and next door is a place called Cork Bay, which is this beautiful bay where the fishing boats come in and you can get fresh fish, and there's lovely restaurants and some fun shops in that area. So we wanted to include and talk about a little bit of the Cape Town lifestyle as well, which is the best lifestyle in the world, we think. And so we came up with this range of wines which are fun and friendly and very simple. They're all single varieties. It's all about elegance. It's all about simple elegance. So we start with a Sauvignon Blanc, which is a blend of a whole lot of different vineyards, so we get consistency. That's the other thing about this brand. Unlike Flagstone, where the wines will change from year to year because of vintage variations, with Fishhook we really want consistency, so that the consumer tries the wine, thinks, wow, that's really good, and then the next vintage they try it, they go, oh, it's kind of different. I don't know. And you know what they say about a haircut? The only bad haircut is one that is different to the one before. It's everyone's looking for consistency in certain products, and I think this level of wine is one of those where you want consistency. So a whole lot of different vineyards, but specific vineyards that we know very well. The Chenin Blanc is all from a place called Switzerland, which has a lot of Chenin, which is unchellised. So very low yields, very concentrated, natural balance. And South Africa makes some fantastic Chenins. We've got more Chenin planted than anywhere else in the world. The rosé is from Pinotage. Pinotage makes fantastic rosé, as we'll taste. We've got Shiraz, a Merlot, and then another Pinotage. And just single variety reds that we really like making. Merlot obviously soft and plummy and chocolatey. The Shiraz is a lot more spicy, a lot more concentrated, and a little bit more kind of Provence, Southern Rhone style, quite spicy. Not really the peppery kind of Shiraz which we get in Flagstone. And then of course the Pinotage, which it's a favourite variety of ours at Flagstone. And this is really what I would consider sort of a lighter style compared to the Pinotage we make at Flagstone. It's just, so, put it in an ice bucket and drink it in the sauna.